This part that you see actually over here is known worldwide as the jaws of life. This is used by all the fire departments or rescue services for accident scenes, and this is one of the most important tools that they have to save lives. Obviously, this has to be manufactured. So what we'd like to do is take one of these parts and get it ready for manufacturing on a CNC machine. The part I'd like to work on is this particular part right here. And if I open the part, you can basically see that I have some pockets to mill out the outside, holes to take care of. So I'm going to work on some of these areas that need to be machined. We'll start by creating our project by clicking on New and Milling. So now this is being put onto a predefined CNC machine, and the stock is automatically being built around it. So let's get started with the machining. First thing I'd like to do is do a face mill. So we have what we call templates, operation templates. So I'm going to go to a face operation, and I'm going to use the option of spiral. I'm just going to drag it to the part, and we have our tool pass put on top. Next, I'd like to machine the outside of the part, and I'd like to use the options for eye machining. So if I were to close all of this, you can see over here that I also have eye machining. So I'll open my eye machining, and what I would like to do is, like I said, I'd like to do the outside. So we'll take the outside and just drag it to the part itself. And our operation has been created for the outside of the part. Now I'd like to do the same for the pocket that we have over here. So this time I'll use a regular eye machining operation, drag it to that surface over there. And again, it'll create the tool path for that particular pocketed area. Of course, I like to do this surface as well. So I'm going to drag that same template to that surface, and we have that surface is machined out as well. Now let's take a look at our simulation. We'll click on Simulate, and I want to simulate the entire part. So I'll click on Operations, and as you can see, our first operation did the face mill on top. Next operation, milling the outside of the part. Next operation will be doing the first pocket that's inside over here. And the next one will be doing that outside step that we have over here as well. Now I'd like to machine these holes that we have over here. Now the holes that we have over here were created using SolidWorks Hole Wizard feature. So we in SolidCAM recognize those features that we have, and we call this our Hole Wizard process. How do we use that? Very simple. We can simply drag this to the hole, and it'll recognize what type of hole that is and create the operations for that hole. For example, these are tapped holes over here. In this particular case, this is an M8 by 1 tapped hole. So I'm just going to drag this to that particular hole over there, and you'll see it'll automatically create the operations for that set of holes. Tapped holes with a spot drill, a regular tap drill, and then the tap itself. This particular hole over here needs to be reamed out. So again, I'll use the exact same drag to that hole over there. And this is that set of holes that we have over here needs to be reamed. So we have a spot drill, regular hole, and the actual reamer needed for that hole. This here is counterbore. I'll just drag it to that over there. And again, it'll do the operations for the counterbore. In that particular case, it's creating 5 different operations for the drilling and the milling of the actual counterbore itself. So now let's run the simulation on the entire part. And we have our face mill, milling the outside, milling the first pocket inside the part, plus the step, and then drilling out everything that needs to be drilled out and machined out as well. Now, whenever designing parts, in many cases there are always revisions in the part. So let's make an actual revisions and in the part itself. We'll go back to the assembly to do that, and then we see how SolidCAM treats these particular revisions. Let's close the part and go back to our assembly. Now I'd like to, as I said, make some changes on the part itself. We'll go to Edit Part, and I'd like to go over here and edit my sketch. What I'd like to do in the sketch is make some changes, such as the 15 millimeter distance that we have over here. I'm going to change that to 10 millimeters. So I'm stretching this out. This radius over here, I'd like to make it a little larger. I'll make it to R25. And this particular distance of 84 millimeters, I'm going to make it 80 millimeters. And this measurement over here of 54, I'm going to change that to 50. And now I'll accept that. You can see there have been some changes to the actual part, and we'll save our changes. Now let's go back and open up our project that we created for that part. When doing so, it recognizes that there was a change made and asks us if we want to update our design model. I'll just click on yes, and you see that the part was changed. Now, in addition to that, you'll also note that we have update marks on the operations. All I have to do is just right click, synchronize, and then calculate the part itself. Now what it's just doing is just recalculating the toolpaths for those particular operations, and you can see that everything was updated according to the new size that we have inside over there. Now I'd like to make one more revision in the part itself. This time I'm not going to go out to the entire assembly. I'll just do it directly over here by opening up the part over here. And I'd like to change actually this hole from a counterbore, as shown over here. I'd like to change it to a regular hole. So I'll just go edit the feature, change it from a counterbore to a simple hole, and we're going to create a hole over here, say that is 12 millimeter in diameter, going through the entire part. We'll just accept that. You see now we have a new hole. We'll close and save the part. And you can see now that these holes over here were changed. And all I need to do now is synchronize. So we'll do the synchronization. And if we take a look at the counterbore holes that we had on the bottom over here, we have here originally 5 operations, which is now changed to 3 operations instead, for the drilling, the spot drill, the drill, and the reamer that we needed for this hole. So over here we can see the entire process, taking it from the assembly to machining the part, and also working on revisions that we had on the part itself.